Hello, YouTube community. It's Robert S., and welcome back to my channel, Robscure Music, where I hope to introduce you or reacquaint you with lesser-known artists and or albums that are out there in the musical universe. So today I'd like to talk about an artist by the name of Miranda Lee Richards. Miranda is a singer-songwriter from San Francisco. She was born in 1975, and her parents are Ted and Teresa Richards. They were somewhat well-known underground comic book artists. Ted created the 40-Year-Old Hippie, and Teresa, I believe, I'm not sure if she created or was heavily involved in women comics, WIMMIN, COMIX, I believe it was, for women comics. So Miranda grew up in this sort of bohemian, hippie environment, if you will. And as she grew, she decided she wanted to go into modeling. She actually moved to Paris to pursue that career. However, she ended up not liking it at all, and she moved back to California. And when she moved back, she, through a mutual friend, she met a fellow by the name of Kirk Hammett. And some of you may recognize that name. He was actually a member of the group Metallica. He taught her how to play guitar, and she played a lot of Mazzy Star songs. And I think that heavily influenced the direction of her music going forward. You can certainly hear a lot of Mazzy Star in her performances. Sandy Denny, Fairport Convention, a little bit of Birds, perhaps, maybe some elements of Jackson Browne, things sort of in that vein. That's kind of where her musical taste is. So she had a brief association with another band from California, one that was called the Brian Jonestown Massacre. And she did, I think, 2 or 3 songs with them, maybe more. I think she did some live performances with them as well. But eventually she struck out on her own. And in 2001, she released her first album, and this is called The Here Thereafter. And this album, it basically contains mostly her original compositions, but there is a cover song on here, and that song is called Dandelion. Some of you may recognize that. It's a 1967 song by the Rolling Stones. If you're familiar with the song or any of the music that the Stones produced in 1967, you'll know it's somewhat trippy, psychedelic music. And Miranda's version of it is perhaps a little more modern, certainly more in her style, but no less trippy. In fact, a couple of the songs on this album are somewhat trippy. So you get this album, you put it on, break out your lava lamps, your blacklight posters, whatever else gets you in the mood, and be prepared. The first song on here is called The Beginner. And yes, this is a psychedelic song. This is a trippy song. This song will essentially take you back to the 60s, to that psychedelic era. And then that actually leads into the second song called The Long Goodbye. And this song, it starts out with a violin sort of symphonic intro, and then it blends into the usual instrumentation, guitars and drums and so on. But then it introduces tabla and slide guitar. And the mix of instrumentation, the matching of her lyrics to the music, it all works. And it's a great second song. In fact, the song almost makes you feel like you're floating, much like this red balloon that she's holding on the cover is floating on the back cover. That's kind of how you feel when you listen to this song. It's a folky song. It's psychedelic, very enjoyable. And speaking of folk, the next song is called Falcon Hell. And this is a song that, again, layers various instrumentation. This has got quite a groove to it, actually. It has a nice drum bass line, and it introduces slide guitar, mandolin, harmonica, and God knows what else. but it's a sort of a perfect blend of instrumentation. Rick Parker, who produced this and had worked with the Von Bondies and Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, as well as other artists. He does an excellent job producing this album. Again, the layers of instrumentation here is incredible. And then, you've got a number of other highlights on here. There's a song called Ella, which is a somewhat, again, trippy song. Let me see if I can read some of the lyrics from that song, actually. It says, Ella, you have a song for the angels. Don't you be afraid while you see what you are. Ella, if you laugh, maybe you'll feel free, and by nature you would walk. Live to become what you are. And some of the other songs on here, Last Solstice of the 70s, Dandelion, obviously, is, that cover of the Rolling Stones song, Beauty Queen. They all have that sort of same vibe to them. 7 Hours, The Landscape, just absolutely fantastic album, and certainly something that I think is worth your time exploring if you enjoy, like I said, Sandy Denny, Fairport Convention, things of that sort. She actually had produced, I think, 4 LPs and 1 EP. I don't have everything, all of her output, but the 2 albums that I have, personally, I think they're the best ones. That debut, The Here Thereafter, and this album, which is called, Echoes of the Dreamtime. This was released in 2016, so it's 15 years after that first album. It starts out with, and then again, this is sort of a throwback to the sort of songwriter singers of the 70s, perhaps. The first song, Seventh Ray, is a fantastic song that honestly sounds like it could have been on that first album. And it's a great song. She's in fine voice here. Again, it's 15 years later. She sounds more mature, more confident in her singing, and the lyrics are somewhat more poetic than that first album. Second song on here, Tokyo's Dancing. This is a song that's a little bit more country-ish. Honestly, I hear 10,000 Maniacs in this particular song, and I think that I mean, it's a good song, almost too reminiscent of 10,000 Maniacs, and I feel like she lost her personality a little bit in that particular song. Now, the next one, Little Radio, let me show you the track listing. Little Radio is more of a personal song, and it really begins with her, not with instrumentation, but with her actually leaping right into the lyrics. And she starts out by saying, I don't feel happy, but I don't feel that bad. Let me read this too here. And then later on she says, then a song comes on the radio with a message loud and clear. All you do is tune in and turn on. All you do is tap in. Wish I'd never tasted sweetness. Now it's all I ever crave. Wish I'd never tasted sorrow. Now I'm just its slave. So, again, fantastic lyrics, fantastic instrumentation. The music is wonderful. Next song, First Light of Winter. This is another highlight of the album. It's essentially a 7-minute song that's basically a poetic introduction, if you will, to the feeling of almost of dread, of having to face something dangerous or depressing. Julian is a song essentially about the dissolution of companionship or like deterioration of a relationship. Colors So Fine is an excellent song on this album. It was given, and it ends with the song Already Fine. And Already Fine it's a more mellow, soothing type song. Here again, you've got a lot of string arrangements. The violins, the viola, I think, is in here as well, and you got, I believe, some sound effect loops as well. So it's a nice, pleasant way to end the album. So check her out, Miranda Lee Richards. Like I said, she's got 4 albums, 1 EP, and I don't think you'd be disappointed. So stay well, and remember, if the music strikes a chord, let it play.